Was I 100% ready to go? No. Did the song end? Yes. So let's do this. Hello, welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. I'm your community manager, Cordovan, and we're getting ready for one of the coolest holidays of the year, that being Halloween. I love Halloween. Maybe you do too. Anyway, we're going to be doing some Halloween-related things. Well, Harvest Math-related things in the Lord of the Rings Online today. We're also going to have a little bit of the latest news, talk a bit about what we have going on, and in store we'll talk a little bit about our previews that have been happening on Bull Roar, and we'll give you a sense of what we have happening there. We'll also have plenty of room during the show today to ask your questions as well. So if you have something that's been on your mind, please do let me know. We'll do our best to get that answered for you today. All right. Well, I guess let's just get to some news, and let me change cameras. Where am I? Well, I'm outside of someone's house. Why am I outside of someone's house? Well, that's because they're doing a Harvest Math thing, a spooky season thing, shall we say. When I started getting out here, it was actually nighttime, and it was looking really cool, but by the time the day cycle moved to the show, it's, well, daylight-ish. So we're just going to leave it like this for a bit while I talk and kind of get a sense of what we got going on. Then we're going to go into this house here in just a little bit. All right, let's get to a little bit of news first. So, first thing I want to bring up is our Bull Roar schedule. If you have not been paying attention, we've been doing previews of Kingdoms of Harad on Bull Roar. We released our second landscape preview for that this week. This is coming to an end in just a few hours from now, but it'll be back soon. We have Ada Geem and now on Sharu. That is available. We also do have the new crafting tier, and we talked about much of these release notes last week, so I'm not going to go over it again. But there is a lot of class tweaking involved as well, and you could take a look at the notes. You'll see that we've actually done some work for this iteration that went out live this week on Bull Roar related to the feedback we received from classwork, and my belief would be that we would be continuing to do that iteration probably clear through launch. So, but you can take a look at all this yourself. There's also quite a bit happening PvMP side, so please do take a look at that as well. You can see it's a pretty lengthy list of release notes here that we've got going on so far for Update 46, and we're only partial through our preview process here. So as you can imagine, it's going to be a pretty big game update, I think. Let me take a look just real quick on our schedule to see what we might have happening in the next couple of weeks. Next week, maybe... Yeah, I'm not the only person who likes this time of the year. And so I think we might be having a few people that are taking certain days off, perhaps something like next Thursday, Friday. I'll be here, even though it's Halloween, but just saying. But that said, we do have... Yeah, looks like we are set for another instance preview, and Keegan, the third landscape, for next week on Bull Roar, and we'll have more information about that per the usual place. Keep a bookmark on the U46 Bull Roar preview thread if you would like to. We are also set then to have a fourth preview. This would be the week after, so that would be the first week in November. And then we are set for perhaps something like November 5th to be a point update. So that'd be something like 45.8. Don't know what's in it exactly. My guess is mostly Monster Player Reward Track Season 4 stuff. And some other kind of things getting ahead of the remainder of content for the year. I would also point out that we do have a couple of casual strolls happening here soon, too. So keep an eye on that. You've been seeing those on YouTube and on Twitch. Those are Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern. So, all right. Next bit. Time is running out. So if there is anyone in your life who you think you might someday want to play Lord of the Rings Online with, or you you think might be interested in at least putting in a couple hours just to see some hobbits and stuff, please do let them know about our coupon code here. This is going Explore Our World is a coupon code, but it's only going through November 3rd, so we only have a couple weeks left of this. So make sure that if there's anyone you know who wants to use this code, because you get all this stuff just for free, tons of quest packs and things, make sure that you get them signed up, get an account, get them logged in, and use that coupon code, because it's only available through November 3rd. When I take a look at our event schedule for the rest of the couple of weeks here, this weekend we have a Lootbox Embers Moats boost. That's 10% running through the 26th. Following weekend will be a 20% Virtue XP boost, if you're interested in such things. 11.1 starts the Hardtack Crafting event back. That runs through the 7th. We have got... Oh, I need to update our LI reward track from the public event schedule. That's been delayed. We talked about that last week. But then I would also just mention that time is running out on the Harvest Math Festival as well. That runs through November 2nd. So another couple weekends yet, but this weekend and next. So make sure you get anything you want to get done with the Harvest Math Festival done as well. Real quick, I did want to put our sales up because we have a thing that is happening, and that is double bonus points plus. We haven't done this in a little while, but what this means is if you get double bonus points, you're also going to get an Elixir of Virtue, and how much that Virtue you get is going to depend on what points package you buy, but you can see it in the store right now, and that also is through November 2nd. Also 25% off some select XP boosts and enhanced XP supply and such. Alright. Our free coupon is Backup Potion for free Universal Morale Potion times 5. The final thing I wanted to bring up then, before I think we maybe head into this spooky house, is that we did a pretty important game update this week. This is update 45.7, and this is something that we've been previewing on Bullroar for a while now. This is the one that is the follow-up because of all those raid and PvMP, well, we tried to do a PvMP, but raid previews on Bullroar. The reason the PvMP part didn't work out is because of the level cap work underway as part of Kingdoms of Harad, and it just kind of messed things up for that part of it. But the raiding part worked out quite well, and we were able to do several iterations based on that work to make it even better than where it started. But adjustments have been made to the way that timed effects like damage or healing over time communicate to make this work more efficient in the game environment. This will most visibly be seen in large raid groups, heavily populated PvMP zones, but it improves communication basically everywhere. It's just that it wasn't piling up and getting to be a problem until you got into heavily populated PvMP spaces or large raid groups. And it's hard to give a very precise language as to what this is, but this really has to do with what needs to know what, when does it need to know it, what all does it need to know, does this need to be sent before or after this other thing, do I need to worry about everyone else in the group, do I need to worry about the enemies, where are the enemies, do I need to worry about where the enemies are, all these other kinds of questions that video game design gets into in large instant sort of communication in active real time. And what we were able to determine is ways to make it far more efficient. In some cases, by changing the frequency of when it's sent. In other cases, saying, well, you don't actually have to worry about those rocks, or something like that, right? Whole bunch of things that have happened. And we did that iterative work on Bullroar and have now brought it to the live game worlds. I have not seen threads. Well, I have to admit, I haven't been able to go through the Discord yet this morning, just due to other things that have been happening. Sorry, but on the forums at least, I haven't seen a lot of feedback in terms of how raiding may have gone last night. I'm going to assume, based on the changes that were made, When you look at sort of behind the scenes, how much stuff, where were we before and where are we now? It's a pretty visible difference. So I'm going to have to assume that we'll have made a difference last night. But I'll be very curious if any of you happen to do any rating last night. Let me know in chat. How did it go? How did it go? Rose Tyler, I can give the team that feedback that the stun duration in the Haunted Burrow is, you feel too long. I would think that we could probably adjust that stun. I mean, I think it's more about the experience than any kind of gameplay necessity. So, perhaps if we can convince a dev to do the work. We should get holiday lights decoration for the house itself, like a special hook just for that. I think that that sounds fantastic. You do have to be careful with light sources in particular in a game like ours. It's one of the things that is always a bit of a struggle with pretty strict walls and limitations. But you can also create light sources that don't actually display light in a way that it radiates, you know. So maybe there's opportunity to do some things there. All right, before I get rid of this page and we move on, I did want to call out the end date for the Legendary Items Reward Track Season 15 is now 12/3 at 9:59 a.m. server time. This is so that we can align Legendary Items Reward Track 16 with the start of Kingdoms of Harad and the new level cap of 160. So, LI 16 is going to start at 12/3 and run until March 4th, 2026 at 9:59 a.m. Eastern Time. So, we also fixed an issue with the milestone of the Golden Passage. All right. Elbereth, I really can't provide definitive guidance as to when a customer support agent might be willing to be like, all right, well, you had a points problem. You wanted to buy the points for the sale. That sale's now 2 weeks old. We're going to give you a discount. I can't provide some kind of formal guidance on that. I would really just need to defer to CS history and activity and messaging on that. Sorry. In general, I know that we try to help when we can, but in terms of hard cutoff times and dates and things, I really can't speak to that. I'm sorry. When you're hit by an effect in the Haunted Burrow, you're usually immune to other effects for a short period. With crafty uses of shadow effects, you can bypass most of the stun effects. Interesting. Quick question, do I remember if back in the day, players on worlds operated in China, Japan, and South Korea were able to migrate their character onto US, EU worlds? My understanding is no. I certainly know that they were not able to migrate to the US worlds, and my belief is that they were not able to go to Codemasters, which was operating independently in Europe, you know, using their own game client and everything. We were, in many cases, providing them, you know, the updates, and then they would release them on their own and such. That's how that was working back in the day. When I believe it was it Sakura? I don't have the Lochura box. I don't have a Lochura box, but I have a DDO box from back in the day of the old Sakura internet, and there was a Lochura version of this as well. And my understanding is that when they shut down, they just shut down. That there was just no real opportunity to do anything there. But I wasn't there, so maybe I'm wrong. It was a different world back then, it really was. Because you were having physical boxes going to places around the world, and they had their own server infrastructure, because, you know, as much as it's a thing to get a ping from Europe to US these days, imagine what it was like back in 2007. That sort of thing. But, But I very rarely have heard, specifically from any of the Chinese players. The box I have, I believe that's a South Korean box, I think. But, yeah. Yeah, very early days, and I don't know how long it even went. Can we fix camels? When a player milestones while riding a camel, the character drops inside of the camel itself. Yes, we're aware of that bug. I know that that's on the task list. Alright. With lightning overhead, let us head into this haunted burrow. Before I do that, however, let me show you what am I actually doing here. Oh. Killed my link. Great. Here we go. See, normally I do this before the show. Alright. Here we are. Come test your mettle at Wipe Scene Investigations House of Horror. It holds all 8 doormats, although it's up to you to find them, along with a variety of activities for the whole family to, enjoy. Don't forget to sign your waiver before you enter, as we are not liable for any accidents that may occur. The address we are going to is 7 Fairwood Lane, Toulousian, Falathorn Homesteads. Fair warning, some NPCs were definitely harmed in the making of this structure. But I thought it was kind of neat. Perfect for this stream. So let's do it. It's not nighttime like it was when I showed up here, but you can see they've got the cool stuff there. I've got the name tags turned off, but I suppose I could turn them on here. But we're just on the outside, and we're going to go in here in just a little bit. This is Ghost Hunters multi-dimensional. Definitely the right doormat. Any chance of getting begonia grub in Lindleby housing? I love that idea. You know, we did that Samwise Gamgee Loyal Housing Attendant back in 2024 as part of a cross promo with Magic the Gathering Online. And that Samwise Gamgee Loyal Housing Attendant has become part of the community loot list. I am down for begonia grub being the second. I think that sounds like a really cool idea. Alright, I kind of feel like I should turn the... Because, I mean, there's things like definitely not an explosive barrel, which... But I kind of feel like I need to turn this off for the best effect. Perhaps I may actually turn the audio up just a little as well. Yes. Sorry, there's a question here. I think I could. Japan shut down in 2009, China in 2012. Okay. Yes, so I am in a position soon to let you know when we are going to be updating Angmar and Mordor. I've been working on some copy with the development team to figure out what are our dates and times for this, and which ones are we comfortable saying, and which ones do we need to kind of hang on because of the more organic nature of Angmar and Mordor. You know, most of our dates for Angmar and Mordor have been approximate rather than solid, because they usually align to what else is going on at the time. We are getting close, however, to putting together a slightly more accelerated pace for the next couple of releases as we work through the Rohan region, which, it's a cool region, but we know that there are some challenges with mounted combat and things like that we want to make sure people get to experience, but also have an opportunity to get past and move on to other parts of the story. So we're going to be on a slightly more accelerated time frame, and we have a couple of bonuses that we're going to be able to activate that'll help speed people along through a few things. And we're in a position, I would assume, next week to say more about it. I don't have the copy in front of me, so I don't want to try to go from the top of my head. Also, I need to make sure that I've got sign-off from the team on a few bits yet. But we're close, and so I would imagine sometime next week we'll see something like a brief article up on Lotro.com, the forums, Discord, game launcher. And it'll update you on the timing of Angmar and Mordor. Sorry, I don't know what the Morgul coin cap is for Nazgul. Speaking of Scooby-Doo, any chance of getting a mystery van version of a Hobbit wagon? I mean, I'm down. But I'm gonna say Mr. Pearson might have some concerns about a Scooby-Doo van in Middle-earth. This is good stuff. Congratulations. Congratulations to the builder here. Is it planned to include all tasks at the homestead boards? I bring that up occasionally, and I can't remember what I last heard on it. I believe the intention is to do it when we can, but we have not yet really canned. So that, I think, is really where it unfortunately sits at the moment. But my belief would be that this would be something we would want to do in the future. I think that's the best way I can describe it. It makes sense. It's just a matter of getting it done. Alright, first person is the way to go here. Can I get through here? Yes. Okay. Oh, wow. Look at that. Look at that. Nicely done. There's a lot to explore here. There's supposed to be 6 Nazgul? There's 6 welcome mats, rather, in here? That's crazy. I don't know, have I seen? What am I missing here? There aren't other ways to go, right? Just one floor? Anyway, isn't this just the coolest? Congratulations on an amazing spooky house. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Congratulations. Alright, I am going to... Where am I going to go next? We will go into Mickle Delving, continue with our story. And I'm going to take actually a real quick break. There's something I need to do, and I need to grab a little bit more coffee. So I will see you in like 1 minute here. Okay, there we go. I couldn't unmute my mic. I was clicking and it wasn't doing anything.
A lovely day, isn't it?
So we are continuing the Haunting of Wistmead. This is part of the Harvest Math Festival. We were just kind of doing a little bit of that earlier. So I thought it might be a fun thing to continue the sort of spirit of what we have going on here. And do it this way. Alright, what am I am going up this way. Sorry, I have my camel. This is not really quite the right steed for this, but nonetheless. I did not bring enough coffee for the rest of you. Not even close. I will be drinking it all myself.
How do you do?
Clear, yeah. I don't think I know of any hobbits by that name in the Shire, though it does sound familiar for some reason. Strikes me as being a name from many years ago, perhaps when I became keeper of the Matham House as a young hobbit. Talk to the postmaster, which is what we are now going to do. And sorry, I'm going to stomp on their roofs to do it, but you know, they should be used to it by this point. Where is my postmaster? It's over here. Yes. The haunted... Sorry, did I not mention the server for the haunted house? This is on Peregrine, and that's part of the reason I decided to do that today, is because I've got this character on Peregrine, and so it seemed like a great opportunity to put some different graphics up on the screen, if nothing else. Hello, friend. We are going to do Haunting of Wistmead.
Some folk.
Do you seek word of a Halcyon Cleary? This is an unexpected joy, Stampion. At last, I thought this day would never come, and I would go to my grave with a task unfulfilled. The mail shall at last be delivered. When I first came to work at delivering the mail, when I was a young hobbit, old Ned Harfoot, the postmaster, showed me the ropes. It took me a few weeks to learn the ins and outs of the quick post, and I never forgot his lessons. One day, he took me down to the cellar and showed me a box of old envelopes. These letters ain't ever been delivered, Hugo, he says to me, but my old boss told me we weren't to throw 'em away. Could be one day we'll find out how to deliver them, and when that day comes, the quick post will truly have earned a fine reputation, even if it puts the lie to its name. Well, Ned passed on not long after that, and I took a vow to keep those undelivered letters safe until my own time was up. It seems you might be the closest person we're likely to get to Halcyon Cleary, Stampion. If you're willing to follow me, I'll show you these stacks of letters, and you can decide what to do with it. Yes, Rose, I actually did answer your question a little bit earlier. Perhaps you were off keyboard or something like that at the time I spoke about it. The ability to be double stunned in the burrow is something that I would think we could perhaps take a look at if we can get a message to a dev and they've got time to do it. I would note that they are getting ready to release Kingdoms of Harad, so off-topic tasks are not necessarily the most welcome greeting these days. But when time permits, for sure, we could perhaps do something with that. So normally we don't let you look through people's mail, but in this particular case, All right, the letters are there for you. I will return shortly. Now we basically go through some the story of this. And I think I will mostly not say it out loud, but just let you experience it. Any news yet on the incentive list for this year's Extra Life donations? Yes, I can. I have got, just a little bit before we went live today, I got the localized copy back from Sansaray, and so I'll be doing that staging work this week. My plan is to announce it, my plan is to announce it next Friday, and that'll have the link to the donation list. That's when we're going to kick off started donations, and that's when I'm going to start doing a whole bunch of work to get people a whole bunch of stuff. So, I don't want to jump the gun on that because there are things I need to do this week that don't involve mailing people codes and things. But we're just about there, and I would be happy to tell you what is going to be new for next year, or for this year. So, for this year, I am going to be bringing back an oft-request slate of 3 titles that used to be distributed by the Fashion Maven. So, that would be the Fashionable, the Unfashionable, and the Eyesore. All 3 of those are going to be making their debut to the community loot list this year. So, pretty excited to be able to offer those. It's been a long time coming on that one, and that'll be what's new this year. I also think I know what's going to be next year, because I had them do a bunch of work for me. I think this will probably be the last year that I have to do the extra step where I make you fill out a survey, and then I email you the codes. It's a lot of work on my part. I mean, literally, it's like 20, 30 hours worth of work on my part. And it's kind of ridiculous these days, because we live in worlds of technology and things. So I think we're going to try to solve this for next year, finally, where I'm not going to have this long list of stuff and you make a bunch of picks from it, and then I have to mail you codes for each one, and it's just a very arduous process. There's a couple of suggestions we're looking at, but one of them I would like to pursue is to see if perhaps we could do some kind of in-game solution, like a picker box, for example. And whether it's a picker box by type, or perhaps if we can fit it all in one picker box, I don't know. I'm not a dev. I don't have to do that work. That would fall on someone like Tiber, who's probably hearing this and going, no, don't say that, because you can't do that. But if we can do that, that's what I would like to perhaps pursue for the future. Or at the very least, some kind of setup where we can mail merge, or do some kind of spreadsheet thing that doesn't involve me having to put it all down in a separate spreadsheet and then email everyone every time. So, not that I don't mind doing it, but it is a thing every year, and that's part of the reason why I want to be careful when I start it and when I end it. I don't know, Phil, if Maid of Lions has put together, in his head at least, a part 3 for this. I don't know if this is the end of the story, or if there's a future here. I don't know how that would be done, Little Redhead. I think technologically that would probably be a real challenge, just based on my limited understanding of things, of being able to have the inside of the picker box know what you've picked up or what you might have account wide on your account. I don't think that technologically that's at all something that we could do. It seems like a solution to me, though. That I could basically hand you either just the picker box or a coupon code, and you just pick up a picker box. Do it that way. And yeah, that might mean you need 10 picker boxes. But isn't that a better solution, maybe? I don't know. Because it certainly is on my end. Because we could just be like, alright, 60 bucks gets you this many. And just mail merge it out. I probably wouldn't even need to be involved. That could probably be automated. I think that's one of the main benefits for it. I am not trying to give short shrift to the story here. I'm just simply not reading it out loud. So if you are paying attention to this forgotten letter, it's a touching little story for sure. I actually do have a tale of a pretty amazing postal delivery myself, IRL, which is that when I was a child I was a teenager. I was like maybe 13, 14 or so, I think. And we were living in Minnesota at the time, and someone in Europe who had been an exchange student posted a letter to us saying, my name is Jerry Snook. It's not a secret. So my last name is Snook. And the letter was addressed to the Snooks, name of the town I lived in, Minnesota. And they mailed it from Europe. That's all it had on it. Because they didn't know the address. And it took like a month. But sure enough, it showed up at our house. It just showed up at our house. And I remember at the time I was like, huh. Wow. There's a whole bunch of people that needed to just be like, it's fine, just send it to the town, they'll figure it out. And it's a small enough town in Minnesota that they'll just know who to send it to. And totally all true. So, would they do that today? Would the Postal Service even consider doing something like that today? I often think about such things. No, it was just a letter from an exchange student who wanted to say thanks and kind of update us as to how things have gone. Do we learn anything of use? I describe some of what Ivy Redsmith wrote to Cleary, and as the tale progresses, Hugo's eyebrows furrow and he strokes his chin. These letters are indeed very old. It seems to me Ivy and Halsin lived during the time of the long winter, which gripped the Shire more than 250 years ago. That winter was the longest recorded, and it was followed by the Days of Dearth, a period of famine and unhappiness, the like of which has never been seen again. It said that many hobbits died during that winter and the food shortage that followed. I hope that fate did not befall Ivy or Halsin, but if there are no further letters, it seems likely they came to sad ends. I wonder why these letters were never delivered. The hobbits of the Quick Post must have had their hands full trying to survive the long winter, but still, I would have expected them to make an effort, at least before it became clear the winter was worse than usual. It does strike me as somewhat odd that the letters that predate the snows were not delivered. We have only uncovered more questions.
How rude!
We don't keep records of home ownership at the Quick Post, but if there's a small chance someone might know the state of the Cleary farm, even if knowledge of its one-time resident has been lost. That was so long ago. I speak of Clem Underhill, the escrow broker in Mickle Delving. He may know if the deed to the Cleary farmhouse has changed hands. So, we are here to talk to Mr. Clem.
What do you need?
That goes back a long way, almost 300 years. Oops. The records from those days are rather incomplete, but there is a deed for a parcel of land in that name, a wooded lot, yes? I've had no cause to go there, but the description makes it sound deep in the forest. In Westmead. No transactions relating to the parcel. So if it was owned by a Cleary once, it must be owned by a Cleary still. The descendant, although surely that is a long time for anyone to stay in one place. Mayhap just the time of the year, but thinking about it sends a chill down my spine. Alright, so we are headed back to Westmead. Which means I need to find the Torse person. Yeah. Or actually, I'm just going to do the easy way. Because I can. It's true. I think this is the only time an escrow broker is used as part of a quest. Which it is very clever, is it not? I agree. I agree. Alright, let me try to get back to some chat. I've been seeing that. But I don't actually know what everyone's been saying. Festival rewards per... Are you talking about putting a festival rewards person in the housing? That would make sense. I can see that. Brazilian, Elven, and Gondorian stable masters literally named some variation of horse person in Sindarin. I mean, sure. Sure. You know, I mean, we think about that today, right? How many people are... what would be a good name? John Blacksmith, right? There's a whole bunch of blacksmiths around as a last name, and probably because of the pretty obvious history at some point. We've come back. What do we learn in Mickle Delving? We state it. It all makes sense to me now. The spectral vision you saw on the Bind Bowl Wood must be related in some way to Halsin Cleary. And somehow he managed to put a curse on the Shire. None but one will laugh when all is done. That must refer to the ghost of Halsin Cleary, scorned and forgotten by his neighbors. In fact, that may well be why the Boffin boys are so uncharacteristically angry. The ghostly haunt has affected them without their knowing, and the close proximity of Westmead to the Cleary farm has inflamed their tempers. We have another adventure ahead of us. A spectre haunting the Cleary farmhouse. We need to be prepared to weather some frightening apparitions. Alright, so now let's head over to Dinodus, which I believe... Where is Dinodus? No. That's Walrick. Lemon tree. Nope, over here. Here we go. No. Yes. Okay. We think it's a ghost. So you'll see, for example, speaking of the lighting discussion I had a little bit earlier about how we have to be very careful with lighting, this is a good example of that. There's probably a lot more consideration on the part of both the content creation team and the artists in what we're about to see here, in terms of how many independent light sources are happening at once and how to carefully sort of make this all happen. And being able to, say, open the floodgates in a housing environment might well cause some problems. Like if there were, oh, I don't know, maybe another 4 or 5 of these things, this game client would probably crash. Going into the cellar, always a good idea. Oh, no. It's locked. Yeah, I agree. The music is pretty excellent, too. Due to your question about really expanding upon Bag End, specifically on Lotro, that would be an interesting question that I'd probably someone like a Maid of Lions or Chris Pearson could speak far more fully to. My guess is that some of it is a matter of access, and some of it is a matter of what can we say because where did it come from? And some of it might be a choice, to some extent, of being like, well, unless we can really maybe do what you suggest, we want to have it in its current place. But perhaps. Yeah, this just kind of knowing what I know about the work that they do on questing, I bet this thing must have been a real piece of work that you need to have a lot of real passion for in order to pull something like this off. Because I bet they spent hours doing various things. Oh, that's interesting. See how it pops in and out when you go into first person because it's no longer being displayed? There is something peculiar about these stairs. Most peculiar. A letter for the future of the legendary servers. I would not give it that much weight. What I will be doing is in the next week giving you some times and dates for our next couple of releases. And a little more information about how it's going to work. Yep. I mean, not looking too good. I would say this person is, yep. I believe we will probably hear more about Rivendell housing in 2026. But we'll see. I did some thinking, Stampion, and I decided I could not let you and Dinadus face this danger alone. So I set my misgivings aside and prepared to follow the two of you. And don't you know it, but my other cousins had much the same idea. I don't think you're Halcyon Cleary at all. I don't know what that's based on. Oh, I've read a number of scary stories to celebrate the season. And that is now not how otherworldly spirits behave. You are something else. I have not heard of plans to add javelin skills to Redline Warden. I am the Skulking Ire. I speak for he who no longer can. So the best house in the neighborhood trophy, speaking of Extra Life, is part of the community loot list. So the actual best house in the neighborhood trophy is something that is available to people who wish to get it here in the game. Similar to the Fashion Maven stuff that I just described, the best house in the neighborhood trophy really dates back to a very different era of running a video game, in which there were CS agents who perhaps had the free time, either designated or otherwise, to run such events inside of the game world. And that was things that they did instead of answering tickets, for example. Today, the economics of the video game world are a little different from the way they were back in, say, 2010, 2011. And you don't typically have that kind of infrastructure in place anymore that could facilitate the all time zones, make sure you do it for everyone, etc., equality and all the rest. And so the idea of doing that kind of thing, while theoretically possible, is unlikely to happen. It's just not really how people do things these days. And in part because while it sounds fun to say it, hey, just let a CS agent go in a game and just like interact with people and hand out special goodies that no one else can get. It causes drama. It causes problems. It causes winners and losers. And it can cause all sorts of problems, frankly. And so we don't... generally, the benefits outweigh the negatives. But given the way that businesses are run these days, we just don't really have that kind of thing. Now, you could say, okay, well, that's maybe your job then, Cordovan. And that's true, but I would just point out that I too have limited hours, something in the range of theoretically 40 a week or so. And the idea of just doing one, you can't. You have to do at least about 10 or 11 of them. But then you also have to do each time zone. So even if you want to just say there are 3 time zones, that means 3 times 11. That means 33 of them. And it very quickly gets sort of out of control in a way that is not sustainable. We're going to run through this then before the end of the show. So basically, the undelivered letters are going to tell this story. It's true, we also do have contests, including housing contests, and I've given Yao from Deco du Milieu codes for these best housing trophies, so there are other ways to get them as well, including the Discord and the forums and player content creators and things like that. So yeah, and the Extra Life codes often get repurposed for that too. You're not the only person there, Lady Calthil, who is just like, yeah, just give me 10 of those housing trophies and we'll use them for kinship events. And that's totally cool. Totally cool. I would set aside November 8th. I'm working with the Lotro Stream team right now on our schedule. It's probably going to be something like about 9 a.m. to midnight. And it'll be Saturday, November 8th, right here on Lotro Stream for our Extra Life Game Day Marathon. I'll be doing a couple-hour shift there. I haven't decided what I'm going to do. Probably not a server visit, just because, like I just described, you can't do 1, you can't do 6. You have to do every server if you're going to do it. So, and how many minutes does that give you per server? It's crazy. But maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I'll figure it out. But that'll be Saturday, November 8th, and we'll have giveaways in chat and some other things as well. It's true, there are fewer servers than last year. That's actually a very good point. But there's still enough. And we're looking at... yeah. 8. They tried, is what we have learned. It is the rage of the hatred against Halsin Cleary that drew him here. Well, we're talking about in-game, this is me being on Cordovan, and that is a process. It's a process that minimum takes usually about 3 hours to do. And so I think I'd rather do things that are better. Speaking of in-game giveaways, these kind of me just going in-game and dumping stuff has its fans, but boy does it have some legit detractors as well, because it's like, what? So if I'm there for like a specific 5-minute period, I might be able to get a free code. Why is that fun? And they're not entirely wrong. They're not entirely wrong, right? So I don't want to frustrate people either. I'd rather do something that is a bit more enjoyable for our Extra Life Game Day Marathon. It's true, you're a barrow down sort of chap is a pretty good reply. Knew something was wrong about Westmead here. It was you the whole time. It's true. Ah, you were to blame for his solitude. And take your curse with you. Alright. I wish we could have done more to help Halsin Cleary. His is a sad story, and while I'm glad to have at least put an end to the villainy of the Skulking Ire, we are much too late to help poor departed Mr. Cleary. I should like to make arrangements to bury him. I shall inquire with the mayor. And perhaps the quick post can be made to foot the bill. Had they delivered Ivy Redsmith's letters, some measure of pain might have been avoided. No, I will not judge postmasters long gone. The Skulking Ire had a hand in the dereliction of their duties. Alright, thank you so much for watching Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for joining me there as well. If you want to leave a comment about it, I'd really appreciate it. If you want to give us a like, best thing you can do to help spread the word of this show and the Lord of the Rings Online. I'll be back next Friday with, I'm assuming, something pretty trick-or-treaty if we can. some kind of Halloween-y thing, because it is going to be October 31st. So have fun, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.